Thank you for joining me today for our painting. I'm going to draw a face. It's not going to be the typical face you see. I tend to love to do cartoon faces or faces that are unusual. This is going to be a woman, and drawing is kind of fun. I just do it through shapes. And when you look at the shape instead of the whole picture, you could probably learn to be a pretty good drawer if you're uncomfortable with it. When I'm putting in the eyes here, I'm deciding on what kind of a facial look she will have, because line can do very much about expression. So I think she's going to probably be, I don't know, got a lot on her mind. Maybe she could be a tired mom, tired shut-in. Her hair is frazzled here. Of course, when you do a cartoon, you want things to look a little crazy. I'm going to put the earrings in, and one earring will be different from the other because don't want a lot of symmetry in art. You want variation, interest. That's why I put the flower on the left shoulder, just to give it a little secondary point of interest. Now I'm going to wet the background, and I'm going right into the canvas. This is 140 Arches paper with my favorite brush. It's a large watercolor brush, holds a lot of water, which is very important. So get brushes that are really good. Anyway, I'm going wet into dry, and that little splotch on the eye, I just wanted to put that there just because I can. That's what's so much fun about art. You can make those decisions. I'm dropping in some other color. When I put that background down, I used a lot of water so that when I come back into it, it'll flow. Now I'm adding some color to the face. And you can see that I'm leaving some white areas, and that's important to me. It helps you skip through the painting, for one thing, and I might go in with some other color there. So I won't fill the whole face with the same color. That can be boring and uninteresting. So you can see that I'm using my big brush for even some small areas. That's what a good watercolor brush will do. It'll allow you to do some tiny work and large work. I'm patting my brush here because I'm going back in with another color, and I don't want a whole lot of water, or I would have a huge blossom there. So you control your paint by making sure your brush has the same amount of water as the water you're going, or the color you're going to be attacking. You don't want too much water on your brush when you're adding color to wet paint. Okay, I'm happy with that. It's dry. I'm going to go in now. Since it's dry, I can lay down more color and keep it nice and clean. Won't look like I'm disrupting the color that I've already put down. You can tell when a watercolor has been messed with so much, it looks so overdone. I like my stuff to be fresh. It looks more professional. I'm underlining the eyes with just some water. I'm adding water just onto the already painted area, and now I'm adding more color. That allows me to add other colors and blend colors in as long as the paint underneath is dry. And so I'm kind of defining shapes. I am moving shadows around things to bring shapes forward and move shapes backward. So the shape under the nose, there's usually a shadow there. In the eye area, there's shadow. So that's what I'm doing. I'm adding some darker color and blending that in with a brush, soft brush, teasing that color where I want it to go. And you notice when I first put it down, it was very, very dark, but as it dries, watercolor tends to be about 2 shades lighter than you think. So I am adding a little bit more darks because sometimes I've got to go back in, and I always wait till it's dry, or at least have the same amount of water consistency on my brush that I'm going into a wet paint. Now I'm doing the lips. The upper lip is usually darker than the lower lip. In photographs you'll notice that, and in most paintings you will notice that. So I'm going to make sure that upper lip separates from the bottom part of the lip because it's just a little darker. It'll help define. Again, color helps define shapes. Dark and light helps define shapes. So I'm putting some dark on the top. And usually the corner of every lip usually is darker even than the top of the lip. So I'm adding just a tad of dark and letting that flow. And you can see the lips are kind of coming into life. The colors are looking pretty good. They're very soft, toned, and smooth. There's not a lot of rough edges, which some watercolorists like a lot of rough edges, and that's fine. But I tend to work a little smoother than that. I'm doing the eyes. The reason I did the white of the eyes is so simply that they don't glare out. White of the paper tends to come forward, and I didn't want her to look like she had bug eyes. I've painted the dress blue because I wanted that to kind of match with the background, to pull that background into the painting a little bit more of her. I'm adding the colors of the flower, which are the same color as the lips, because I just want little specks of that color to be in the painting somewhere else, not just on the lips. Now that was pretty heavy there, so I'm just blotting it off to lighten that up so it doesn't demand too much attention. Adding my leaves. That little flower has 3 or 4 different colors in it. Just adding water and adding paint. Now I'm defining the earrings. And again, earrings on both sides. Shouldn't be exactly the same, so I'm changing them a little bit. And again, that earring will have probably 2 colors in it, just to get a variety of change. That's what's so awesome about watercolor, is you drop in paint, it moves and changes the color in ways that you could never accomplish if you try to do that manually or on your own. Watercolor speaks for itself. It's just a wonderful medium. If you haven't done watercolor, I hope you this encourages you to give that a try. When I first did watercolor, I hated it. It was water everywhere. It was a mess. I didn't get it. But just after a few years of practice and thinking about how the medium works, you realize how sweet it is to work with. It's a very clean medium. I am leaving a little bit of a white spot in the eyes because I just want a fleck of a highlight, as if maybe the light is hitting the eye. Again, I'm going in. Sometimes I feel things need to be a little darker, so I just add a little thicker paint or heavier or darker color. She's looking kind of mad. Maybe she's your mother-in-law? I don't know. I don't know what she's mad at. Maybe her date didn't show up, but there's a story she's telling with those eyes. It's amazing how line can just simply express something like that. You can paint your own face and maybe pretend it is your mother-in-law and get all your frustrations out. Oh, I love this part here. I'm adding a paint called Opera. It's one of my favorites for showing some warmth of color. And so I'm just adding some rosiness to her cheeks and that lower chin. I'm going to pull up some paint. You can go in and just wet your brush, clean it, go back and pull it up if you don't like it. I do like to leave a little behind, but that was a little heavy. Doing a shadow under the chin, which is naturally there. Again, still kind of working and pushing that the eyes to be more expressive. There's a lot there on that side, so I'm going to lift with my brush, remove some of that. So I'm just constantly just pushing this painting more and more, but you really need to be careful that your paint is either dry or the paint in your brush and the water in your brush does not exceed what's already on the paper. That's so important when you work with watercolor. Okay, I'm just working some shadows in and giving some more push to the facial structures. I get to decide as an artist what comes forward and what goes back by just simply putting shadows and paint down. I'm doing the pupil. I'm going to leave a little speck of white there. I usually get my blacks by mixing 3 colors. I usually mix a dark blue, alizarin crimson, and I might even add a touch of orange, and I usually get a pretty good little black. And now I'm doing the hair, and I'm just going for it. This is that brush I told you. I just love this brush. It's so loose and fun. Kind of crazy to work with, but it allows me to be loose, and the hair is loose, so it's a great brush for this kind of a thing. And I'm just putting in really, really wet, because I'm going to go back in with some other color over those wet areas of darks, and let that watercolor do its thing. It is fun to watch what it'll do. And so I'm just expressing her hair using a brush and going wild with it. Now I'm dropping in a little darker color of a kind of a brownish, rusty color, and you can see that flowing and moving where it wants to go. There's not another medium that does that. It's just fun to watch how the paint will move and make colors that are so terrific and so unique. And I'm going to go in again with another color. And I'm adding a little accents on her forehead, making her hair a little bit more interesting and kind of out of whack. I don't know what she's mad about, but could have made her happy. Maybe I'll do a happy face another time. Now I'm dropping in some warmer colors, a little orange there on the side, and again, that's going to dry a little lighter once it's dry. And there we go. That's my painting. You can see the hair's dried a little bit, and you can see the just the shift in color that's there by just dropping in color. So hopefully you'll learn a little bit about how watercolor works.